liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Dankert, would you do the roll call, please?
Mayor Steen. Councilmember at Large Pashusta. I'm sorry, Councilmember at Large Austin.
Present.
Councilmember Pashusta. Fisher.
Present.
Baskin.
Present.
Helly.
Present.
Waller. King. We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, item number 1 is a motion for adoption of the agenda with the additions. We need a motion. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2 is a motion approving the minutes from February 14th, 2020 and February 18th, 2020. Need a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under recognitions and awards, I do have a proclamation. We worked with, Ann worked with Dr. Nuga on this proclamation, and it's for, I'll read it. Whereas colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States among men and women combined, but there is currently no cure. And whereas 1 in 22 men and 1 in 24 women will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer in their lifetimes, and whereas there are now more than 1 million survivors of colorectal cancer in the United States, and whereas 1 in 4 Minnesotans 50 to 75 years of age and older are not up to date with colorectal cancer screening, and whereas an estimated 2,300 Minnesotans will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer and 790 Minnesotans may die from this disease in 2020. And whereas if the majority of people in the United States age 50 or older are screened regularly for colorectal cancer, half of all cases could be prevented entirely. And whereas it is critical that all people of all ages know the signs and symptoms of the disease. And whereas observing a colorectal cancer awareness day Monday, March 9th, 2020 would provide a special opportunity to offer education on the importance of early detection and screening. Now therefore I, Thomas A. Steen, Mayor of the City of Austin, do hereby proclaim March 9th as Colorectal Cancer Awareness Day in the City of Austin. Okay, so Dr. Nuga, would you like to speak on this? First of all, you can have the proclamation, and why don't you tell us, you've got a lot of information on this. This is pretty important. We pay a lot of attention to breast cancer because it's so prominent, but this is almost as prominent, isn't it?
Yes, it's the second leading of death by cancer in the U.S. And many of us are very familiar with the pink as one way to be aware of breast cancer. But we also want everybody to know that colorectal cancer affects both men and women, and we want to do all we can to educate all Minnesotans to be aware, to take the early tests, because if we do that, early detection would help prevent a lot of cases in cancer. I sit on the board of the Southern Minnesota American Cancer Society, and one of the things we want this month is to shed a lot of light and focus the light on the month of March as a colorectal cancer awareness month, and specifically designate I think Monday the
March 9th?
9th,
March
yes,
9th.
as the day for us to go blue. In the sense that if you have lights in your establishments, workforce, or you have employees, let them wear blue, let them display blue on that day to just honor that day as the Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. So I thank the mayor, I thank the council, I thank all our city representatives and people in general, the citizens of Austin, that would help us publicize that day, March 9th, as the Colorectal Awareness Day, and do everything we can do for the month.
And where would people get more information on this if they wanted?
ACS, AmericanCancerSociety.org.
Okay.
And I have an infographic that I could pass to the clerk just in case. It's a 2-page infographic that kind of tells about colorectal cancer and how many are affected and what we can do to sort of prevent it.
You know, why don't you leave that with us, and we'll make copies, and we can put them on the counter canvas, so when people come in, they can get a copy of it. Would that be okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Thank
And
you,
I thank you very much for this proclamation.
thank you.
And we'll
Appreciate your
display.
efforts.
And if you do, in your establishments, or anyone in the audience, if you do go blue on Monday, take some photos and send to me, and we're going to kind of bombard the whole state with Austin supporting colorectal awareness month.
That'd be great. Thank you, Dr. Nuga. Okay, under number 4 is a motion for the consent agenda. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 5 is a resolution receiving bids for the 2020 seasonal supply of asphalt. Mr. Lang.
This is the asphalt pavement that our street crews use for patching different areas around town. This is not for street reconstruction projects, but rather just what our street crews use for patching. And we took bids on this. We received a base bid from both Yulin Brothers and Rochester Sand and Gravel. We apply a mileage cost based on the distance it takes for us to travel to pick up asphalt from those two different plants. And when doing that, Yulin Brothers is the low bidder at $269,820, and we'd recommend awarding this contract to them.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution for 5.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Under petitions and requests, number 6 is a resolution accepting donations to the city of Austin. We need a resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 7 is a resolution approving an airport farm lease with Patricia Morris. Stephen?
The city owns different property around the perimeter of town that we lease out to farmers in those areas. This happens to be down by the airport, and Patricia Morris owns adjacent property to these two parcels. We've worked with them previously and would recommend continuing a 5-year lease agreement for it'd be $225 per acre over the course of 5 years. We'd recommend awarding this to Patricia Morris.
Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution for 7.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 8 is a motion receiving a feasibility report for the Turtle Creek S2 sanitary sewer project. Stephen?
Yes, we discussed in detail at the last work session how we would extend sanitary sewer out to a neighborhood west of Austin. And some details are in the report here. One key factor is how we're going to pay for this project. And again, we estimate this to be just over $1.9 million. We would apply for a point source implementation grant that would cover 80% of eligible costs. And then we would apply our sanitary sewer access charge to the adjacent property owners to fund the remainder of the cost that is not covered by the grant. So with that, we would apply our SAC fee at its current rate is, for 2020, is $16,700. If people came in to hook sometime in the future, that rate is adjusted yearly as needed, so it may be something higher in the future.
Thank you. Council, anything?
No, I just wanted to thank staff for going back. I know we had to look at a few different options, and I think talking to some of the residents out there, this will be very well received, and they definitely appreciate the flexibility.
It's overdue, really. Okay, we need a motion. Yep, make a motion then.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 9 is a motion approving a new sewer access charge repayment policy. Stephen?
Yep, so as Jason was just referring to there, this is a policy that we would develop to help property owners fund the sanitary sewer access charge, that's $16,700. Or for some properties, if they have a low pressure grinder pump, it could be up to $18,950. So working with different folks from different departments, we've developed a policy for that and how that would be applied. Taking direction from council, looking at a 10-year assessment, we would assess an interest rate to that, and we would then have set assessment hearings for these property owners that choose to want to have it put on their taxes versus paying the lump sum at the time of the plumbing permit. So we've adopted, or we've put together for you a policy that would apply, and then also a waiver form that the property owners would need to sign. And if approved tonight, this is something that we would apply to both the Turtle Creek 2 sanitary sewer area, also any area where the city extends the sanitary sewer at city cost. Other areas that this would apply to would be 10th Drive Southeast, where we have previously extended sewer, and also some property owners in the former sewer extension area in the northeast part of town.
Council, any questions on this?
Do we run into any problems? I'm assuming since it's a self-imposed assessment and they sign this waiver that they can't come back and contest it?
It doesn't guarantee anything, but
Helps cover us.
it will help to cover us. It's something that the homeowner is requesting in lieu of paying the full assessment at the lump sum, so we feel that we're providing them a better cost for spreading it out, but it doesn't preclude anyone from trying to object.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, did we have a motion on it?
No, I just asked
Okay.
the question.
Is there a motion for 9?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10 is resolution approving an ICM agreement with Austin Tank Wash. Mr. Lang?
Yes, this is for a tank wash facility located on 11th Street Northeast. We've been working with this business owner for about the last 18 months to develop this. It's very similar to other ICM agreements that we have put forward, indicating that it'll regulate flow, CBOD, TSS, and nitrogen, and also pH. This one's a little bit different in that we have a couple other factors in there that regulate discharge from the facility due to previous sewer backups, and also issues related to backing into the facility from 11th Street. So we do still have some wording in there that the business owner needs to create a drive-through bay for this facility. They are still working through the process of acquiring the building, so as the leasee, they're apprehensive to make an investment of a drive-through bay until after they own it. But we still have that wording in the ICM agreement. This is about a 10-month agreement. It's set to expire December 31st of 2020. But with the wording that we have in the document, we'd recommend approval.
Council, any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution for 10.
So move the resolution.
Second. Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 11 is a motion approving a $1,000 from 2020 contingency for a retreat facilitator. Craig?
Thank you, Mayor, members. This is came up at our discussion at a recent work session, and to accommodate that for our March 9th retreat. We had a couple different proposals that we looked at. I think council suggested working with Pam Bishop, who works at the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. We have kind of an established relationship with them, and they've given a proposal for $1,000 that was included in the packet. We need an action by council to approve the contract outlined in Exhibit 1 and take the funding from the contingency fund for 2020.
Council?
I guess I don't understand why we have to spend $1,000 to facilitate this meeting. Haven't seen, I guess briefly seen a draft agenda, but I guess I can't in good conscience vote to spend $1,000 to facilitate our retreat.
I think the rationale is that to have an outside third party leading the discussion, you ultimately end up with a more fruitful discussion. I think if we're going to invest 3 or 4 hours of our time to go out and talk about community issues, it's worth, on a pilot basis, seeing if we can bring someone else in to ensure that we get the right discussion, so that people who are internal processors, external processors, everybody has the opportunity to contribute to it. I know past retreats that the conversation has been that we wished we had more opportunity for discussion and we didn't really get a chance to get down to the meat and potatoes. I think this is a fairly low investment to be able to get us into potentially having a much more fruitful use of that 4 hours. And if it doesn't work, then we get away from it for next year.
I think we've gotten, after retreats, a lot of them, we weren't happy with them. We're looking for ways of improving them. I think we're gonna change the format of the retreat a little. I mean, we don't need a facilitator if we're gonna get reports that are 15 minutes long from all the department heads. But we're gonna go kind of a different direction this time, so I would ask people to wait till it's over before you judge it. I think hopefully it'll work out good. If it doesn't, we won't do it again. Anybody else? If not, we need a motion.
Move to approve?
To approve or deny.
I move to approve.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Do we need a roll call? Tom?
Motion by Councilmember Baskin, seconded by Councilmember King to approve the $1,000 for the retreat facilitator. So an aye vote is in favor of such. Councilmember Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Number 12 is a resolution approving implementation of certain components of the classification and compensation study. Craig?
Thank you, Mayor, members. Just for the public's edification, it's been over 25 years since we've had a base pay reviewed, and this is necessary to ensure that we are in compliance with pay equity and competitive within our marketplace. We've embarked on this to ensure that positions are adequately compensated and that we stay competitive in an increasingly strained workforce shortage situation. We selected a firm in March of 2018, and it's been purposeful and focused process that's placed a premium on getting it right rather than getting it fast. This plan will keep us in compliance with the state mandated pay equity by having our job duties evaluated that ensure that equity is maintained within positions. Tonight we have a labor contract and approval of the base pay plan. That's been the fruits of the efforts over the past several years. Tonight we need several different motions from council. The first is approving a base pay schedule. Without this approval, we can't take action on the other agenda items. The base pay schedule resolution also applies to non-union staff, so members should know that as well. The second step would be for the LELS contract for 2020 and through 2022. And then there'd be 2 MOAs that would be part of that motion that would allow for retroactivity to July 1st of 2019, as well as the MOA to put the employees on the proper BPS steps over the duration of the contract. And then the last item that we need to address is the city attorney contract. That's a separate position, and we need to take separate action on that. Other than that, the provisions of the LELS contract were a part of the memorandum included in the packet. I won't go through those in detail unless there's any questions from council. I'd be happy to answer any of those. Otherwise, we need those series of motions to move forward.
Council?
Yes, I have a question. Back at one of our meetings last fall, the question was asked if anything had been changed to the comp and class study from when it was given to council in September. We were told by the 2 people that put it together that nothing had changed. Yet before us tonight in this document, there are 4 positions whose points have changed from the September document. Is there an explanation for that?
I don't know of the 4.
The 4 are the Human Resources Director, the Street Superintendent, Sewer Maintenance, and Building Ice Custodian. 3 of them went down in points and 1 of them went up.
Might ask if Trish has insight into
Need any
that.
information on that, Trish?
I don't have the September version with me tonight. I know that there were a couple of times that we did cover the proposed base plan structure. One was early in the process, and one was a little further along in the process. So, September, and I don't recall right offhand when the other one was.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly when that meeting was, but I guess since the question was asked and a change was made, I'm wondering why it wasn't brought to our attention that changes were made and why the changes were made.
Again, early on in the process when we were going through all the different positions.
This was supposed to be the final document in September, though.
Yeah, I don't recall
Yeah,
September was the final.
I'd have to visit with Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, and I preface this with I put an incredible value on the hard work that our city employees do, and absolutely they should be getting raises. And, I think there's some unique circumstances. I think the police department, I'm fully in favor of that contract and will vote for that because we've got some unique challenges with recruitment and retention around the police officers. But I got to vote against this for 3 reasons. The first is if we fully implement this, we're going to end up with double-digit tax increases for a couple of years. Property taxes have already gone up over 60% over the last 5 years. And so to ask taxpayers and businesses to continue to see double-digit increases, I don't think is sustainable for us. Number 2 is this constrains our ability to make needed financial investments back into the community. And so right now, our number 1 expense, 62 cents of every dollar that we spend is on salaries and wages. And as well it should be. Fully implementing this study takes us to 70 cents on the dollar, which then constrains our ability to invest in things like roads and parks and housing and economic development. And so there's some challenges there that are going to start to come down the road. And then finally, as we look at some of the recommended wage increases, they're not in line with what the economic reality of the market really is. And so, collective bargaining has worked really, really well for us for the last 30 plus years. And we have mutually agreed with each of our unions on what the compensation should be set at. When we look at this study, the comp cities have higher average incomes and higher tax bases than what the city of Austin has. And so to have some departments that are looking at 20 to 30% wage increases, I can guarantee you that most taxpayers aren't getting 30% wage increases. And so absolutely, we should be paying people more, but I just don't think that the way that this is implemented is in the best short or long-term interest of the community.
Okay, anybody else?
I guess I share some of your concerns. I'd be the first one to say that this is a flawed document. But now that we have a contract in front of us that is tied to this document, I don't know how we can expect to settle contracts without approving this comp and class study, because that's what our contracts are hinged on. I guess I don't feel comfortable passing it without having, I guess I don't feel I have a good answer to my question earlier. But in the interest of moving forward on contract negotiations, I feel that this should be approved tonight.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess I would respectfully disagree with my counterpart in the second ward, Mr. Baskin, on that sustainability piece. I think we're at a point that I don't think the city is be sustainable unless we approve this compensation plan. I always put it on us, shame on us for not having a compensation plan for the last 20, 25 years to get to this point. And I've often said that being the 5th or 7th lowest tax city of a population over 5,000 is nothing to be proud of. This is the result, is that we're underpaying our employees by a significant amount, and we just need to bite the bullet on this. And I think most of the constituents understand that, yeah, I hate to balance the budget on the backs of a low-paid employees. So I would just stress that it's really our fault for getting us to this point by not looking at it sooner and incrementally along the way. So I would certainly be in favor of passing this compensation plan tonight.
Anybody else?
I would also like to comment that the scope of this comp and class study is huge. It took many, many months. It took a lot of work by outside consultants and our staff. Each position was reviewed by the staff person who does it, by their supervisor, and reviewed by a third objective party. Just the number of pages in the report tells you how complicated it is. And for us to find 1 or 2 figures that we aren't sure are correct and justify that for a no vote, I think doesn't wash. I think we know we spent good time and good money and had good people on the project, and I think we can feel confident in the overall answers and results. That's how I feel.
And I guess like we've spoken in several meetings on this, several departments are underpaid, and we'd like to take care of certain departments for sure, but we can't just give raises to one department without it affecting all departments.
Well, besides that, the study came back and supported raises for all departments. I mean, it's not that, it supported one and not the other. I think this study has been years over a year, I think, in the making. We put it off for a lot of years. It's an impartial study. It told us that we're not paying our workers what we should be paying and haven't for a while. And it is gonna be a real challenge putting together a budget this year, but at the same time, you still have to pay your people what they're worth.
And I think
And
the
back in
flaw in this-
September and
yeah.
October, when we were talking about this, if you had these concerns, we maybe should have delved into this document further at that time. And we had that opportunity and I brought it forward and nobody else seemed to think they needed to discuss it further because we were told the algorithms were great and this was the greatest thing we can do.
I think
And
I've
this is
been-
all we need to discuss any further.
I think I've been pretty clear in our closed sessions what my concerns have been on the
Yeah.
document. And I think that people can respectfully disagree, and ultimately,
Yes,
we make
I respect your
choices.
opinion.
And I
entitled
think
to it.
ultimately, to me, the flaw in the study is the fact that, yes, you can look at cities, but we have a lower median income than a lot of those cities, and so it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. But reasonable people disagree.
We took a lot of that into consideration, I'm sure you know, Jason, but I think it's important that you have different opinions. I appreciate the fact that Jason has a different opinion. I think we're a stronger council for it. Anybody else? With that, we need a resolution for number 12.
I'd make the motion to approve the implementation of the components of the classification and compensation study.
I guess, can I ask
Sure.
one question before, I guess we're given the, in the backup material, I assume that's what's public, is the points per position and the pay grades, but there's no tie. I mean, they're two disconnected documents. Is there any thing going to be done to tie those documents together, or is that, we're just gonna leave everybody hanging?
I don't know if I'm tracking with you. The base pay plan is referenced in the contract.
Yeah, the base pay structure lists grades, and then we have, ahead of that, we have the points per position, each position in the city, and how many points they are, but nowhere does it tell me that this person with X number of points gets what pay grade.
Based on their classification, they'd be placed in the overall structure. So.
So you
each-
want a
each
document
person-
that says library director
No, I want
grade?
a document that says if I have 600 points, that puts me at pay grade whatever.
And that would be.
So that
ba-
I know that the tie-in. I mean, you've got two just jointed documents here, they don't tie together.
Your evaluation of the position has a point value assessed to it.
Right,
then
and the
that
point
would-
value ties to their pay grade.
Right.
So how do I know what position is gonna get paid what, based on the two documents that we have? There's no tie between the point system and the pay grades. There's nothing that gets me from page A to page B. Or page C, actually, we're missing a page B.
Both those are tied together in the positions that are outlined. I mean,
So Craig, I think
Well,
maybe the city administrator position would be a good one. I can find how many points the city administrator position has,
but that doesn't tell me what pay grade that
but
puts
I
you at.
can't find what pay grade that is. I just have another chart that says grade one through 36 and salary total.
I'm assuming that because you're at the top of the points, you're gonna be at the top of the pay grade, but that doesn't fill in anybody below you.
Yep, and that is correct, and that is how the points will be listed in the base pay plan. So if you go a little step further on the second item of the LLS agreement, under the pay plan within that document, it references grade 16 for police officer, so that's how it'll be referenced, it'd be grade 16. So they are listed with a certain number of points. 419 points, which is a grade 16, and grade 16 is referenced in the pay plan of the LES
So
agreement.
we're just left to connect the dots from there. Okay, that's all I wanted to ask.
Okay,
Thank you.
Tom, can you give us a motion? I know Mr. King made a motion.
And that's where it ended.
Okay, do we need a reminder of what it was?
Motion by Councilmember King to approve the implementation of certain components.
Any more discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Baskin,
Nay.
Helly,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Councilmember Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 6-1, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 13 is resolution approving a labor agreement and memorandum of agreement between the City of Austin and Law Enforcement Labor Services. Craig?
Same as before, if there's any questions on the details of the memorandum on what's provided in the contract, be happy to answer any questions from council.
Oh, I'm sorry, Craig. Any questions? Any comments? If not, we need a resolution for 13.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Baskin,
Aye.
Helly,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 14 is resolution setting the policy for the administration of wage rate for the city attorney. Craig?
As I mentioned earlier, that we have to sign that for the city attorney as provided in the contract, and that's proportionate to the amount provided in the bargaining agreement we just approved.
Any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher, Baskin,
Aye.
Helly,
Abstain.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 6-0 with one abstaining, Your Honor.
Thank you. You know, I want to thank the staff for all the work they did on that, but I want to thank the council too. I mean, this thing got really hammered out. This wasn't, we put as much work in this as we did into a budget, so thank everybody up here. Are there any citizens here tonight that want to address the council on anything? I know we got a bunch of spectators. You guys got any questions on stuff you want to ask? If not, Miss Ramirez. Would you have a comment for us? I give up. I can say Colorado or whatever cancer, but I can't say that. No, I can't say that. Colorectal, there we go.
I just want to say thank you for getting my last name right. The newspaper did not get it right the other day. In the progress. Talk. But no, thank you. I only have 2 notes. One is to wear blue on Monday, so thank you. And the second one is just that I guess just even that the decisions come down to even wages. Like those, I mean, the city council makes those types of decisions. So those are just my 2 notes. That is complicated, I think, as Laura said. Those are the kinds of decisions that you guys are making, and so I learned a lot today and just what happens. And I was quickly scanning through the documents, and I realized I need like a bigger tablet or something. But I appreciate again the choices that you have to make, and even just how it comes down to those little decisions. So, thank you.
It's almost too bad you can't be here when we start putting our budget together, so you can see, because this is going to have a big effect on our budget next year. If we're going to have, it's going to have a really big effect, and it's all tied in. And if you get a chance, we do it most of it at the work session. So come on in as we're putting the budget together. It's got to be done by when? September, Tom?
Has to be a preliminary budget, and the levy has to be adopted by September 30th.
Yeah.
So July, August, early September, we'll start working through that process.
That's the hard part. Now you got to pay for what you did.
Now, is it true that you and the chief are going to be doing autographs of your Austin Living magazine in the lobby after the meeting, or is that a rumor? Okay. All right, I'll put my copy back.
Craig, do we have any reports? Or I get to the, wait a minute.
You want to do council now, yeah.
I'm sorry. Jason.
Just wanted to highlight the outstanding coverage that Austin's been getting recently. The Star Tribune had a special report last Sunday. They've had a follow-up editorial, and the recent Sunday they've had podcasts. And really it tells the story of the outstanding work that so many people in this community are doing. And it's coaches, it's schools, it's the police, it's city leadership, it's nonprofits. And I think what's really cool is that this is a story and hard work that's been done really over the last 20 years. And so it's really cool to see that being told on a statewide and a national level. So we should feel really good about the work that we're doing in Austin. And it really is a shining example of positivity. And we have more work to do. I think we all know that, but we're moving in the right direction, and we should be really proud of that.
Thank you, Jason. Laura?
So dovetailing perfectly with that, 2 weeks from today, the Welcoming America national group will be doing a community visit here to Austin. So that's March 16th, a Monday. There'll be a little reception before the council meeting that Monday, and there's other events and chances to face-to-face with the Welcoming America people. So Austin Human Rights Commission is involved with that, and I'm sure you can get more information from them.
Thank you. Jeff?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Rebecca?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Steven?
I'd just like to thank the LELS for their patience, and I can't help but think that with my world in corrections and probation, I know that throughout these last couple of years, you've been doing your job with about 3 to 4 less staff than you should have, and I know now we're complete and fully staffed, but this is quite a testament to your ability to work through these problems, and I hope that we can get past this and get this signed tentative agreement to be an agreement, and the rest of the unions fall in place after that one.
And Joyce?
Nothing, Your Honor.
I think I mentioned to council that we went to the external sign variance committee to try to get road signs on I-90. I did receive a response that they will be going to the commissioner's office on April 13th. Sounds like they don't move very quickly either, but to see what our request will be. They don't tell us what they're recommending because the commissioner has the right to overrule them, so they're keeping us in suspense on that, but progress nonetheless. We have CGMC Legislative Action Day on March 11th. A couple of council members are going. We'll be meeting with the MPCA on the 12th regarding our wastewater treatment facility, and also Senate Minority Leader Kent to share with them our project and how important it is to our community. The House of Representatives will be testifying on Wednesday for our wastewater treatment plant and our $19 million request. We did find, in talking with our engineers on the project, that we'll be subject to probably $1 million to $1.5 million in sales tax as part of the project. The way the state has handled when the contractor takes control of different parts of the construction project, that makes them eligible for sales tax. So we're sent a note to Senator Sparks and Representative Poppy about if there's anything we could do to try to address that added cost to a municipal project that would be double taxing our residents and business owners.
Do you need to run it through a nonprofit?
Yeah.
The influence of the 501c3, I know we're tax exempt.
That's right. If you have
Artworks and
Kidding.
wastewater treatment plants.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Well, it's kind of interesting because there is a way that the municipality can essentially hold the stuff to try to get around it, but that creates delivery issues and liability issues for the city, and it really is not very feasible, but hoop jumping that the state evidently wants you to try to go through. But and then our council retreat on March 9th that we've had some discussion on tonight. We'll see you at the Nature Center. Pam Bishop couldn't be there right at 4, so we're going to have a start time of 4:30 with something to eat, and then we'll move into the retreat from there. And then Ann Kazel has something for us.
Ms. Kazel?
Yes, tomorrow the polls will open at 7 a.m. for the presidential primary voting. So it will be all your normal polling locations in the city of Austin. I'll put something out on Facebook with a poll finder. It's also on our website, or people can call City Hall and we can help them find their polling location.
Okay. Anything else? I just like to agree with Jason on the publicity we've got. Of course, your name seems to be in all those articles somewhere, Jason. That's pretty good.
I know, I keep ruining them.
I think it's from when you were on the Human Rights Commission. I had a call today on the honorary council position. But I think as I talk to people, I think Austin does have a story to tell, and I think people are starting to realize that around the state anyway, because we've had other stuff. So it's been real positive for us, and it hasn't just happened. It's because a lot of people have done a lot of hard work. Other than that, we need a motion to adjourn till Monday, March 16th, 2020 at 5:30 in council chambers.
So moved.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Take a short break and meet in the conference room across the hall.